Thank you very much. It is an honor to be here. You're good? Okay. EcoPeace Middle East have been operating about quarter century out of the Middle East. Most people consider water a conflict multiplier. It is often used as a weapon in a conflict where if I have power, then I will withhold water from my enemies. And I will dump sewage and other trash on their site. What is often forgotten is that that has an impact also on my people. We have taken that concept and moved it on its head. We use water to really get people to focus on the problem and solve some of the bigger issues across the conflict. We believe that, and our experience tells us, that it is possible to get people across a conflict to cooperate over water if it's done the right way. 40% of the world today is facing water insecurity, and that's a number that came out of the World Bank. The challenges that we are facing today are already tremendous. With global warming, the challenges are going to be even more. We really need to think about that many of these areas that we see here in dire straits already, and this is today's picture, they are often they could be categorized as very volatile to conflict, and some of them are already in conflict. And water, we could live up to the typical saying that water is a conflict multiplier. EcoPeace approach is to try to turn that trend around. The challenges exist on a national level. They exist in terms of curb unsustainable water use. They also exist on an international level where we really want to advance more comprehensive multi-sectoral policies in terms of the use and management of water, not only nationally, but also internationally across the borders. This is in an optimistic view, if we consider stable economic development, how the incremental water insecurity is going to be in 2040. And it also assumes that we are peaking in terms of CO2 in 2040. So this is kind of like a slow curve of growth in the CO2 until 2040. And so it's obvious that the areas that already have water conflict are going to be, water scarcity are going to be in even dire straits with climate change. EcoPeace believe in a model where we don't only have water for human consumption, but really look at it from a sustainable economic development perspective, involve the stakeholders, and advance transparency and governance of water. Our flagship project is Good Water Neighbors, and we started out in 11 communities in 2001. We later expanded it to include 28 communities, and we went from peering communities to communities across the border to really look at it from a watershed perspective, because everybody within the same watershed is dependent on everybody else in that watershed. What we do in our Good Water Neighbors project is that we go out, we reach out to local communities, and we reach out to youth group and to adults, and we involve them, we educate them. Where is your water coming from? Where is it going? What is happening to it while it's in your domain? What kind of footprint are you leaving in your water reality and for your neighbors? And slowly people start understanding that they don't only belong to this small community, but they belong to the larger watershed. And that watershed might go across borders into other nations as well. We reach out to youth group and we involve them in different water activities. And that could be water harvesting at their school, creating local water gardens, and other sustainable measures that they can take. And they will walk along the waterways and they will understand what is happening along the waterways. And they will understand that even though that they consider this river that they grew up with, that's the state, they will understand that it's not the reason why maybe there are no fish in that. Maybe it's because of the sewage. And they will understand the larger community, what kind of impact they have. They create brochures that are beautiful, and they explain, and they give them out to tourists and the local community so that they can explain to other people what is happening along this waterway and how can we together fix it. We find that when people understand their water reality, they also understand that they can improve the local situation, and they can cooperate across the different populations that are otherwise in conflict. That animosity and fear does not necessarily keep people away from cooperating. It's important to note at this point in time that we're not asking anyone for favors. The solutions that we're suggesting are going to be in people's self-interest. So it's very important that people can go back to their own communities and say, we did this for us. I didn't do it for people on the other side. But by engaging in this work with people from the other side of the conflict, I create a better opportunity for my community. And that way they can justify to their own constituents why they engage in this. Because otherwise, you're engaging with the enemy. So the identification of the solutions, it's very important that it covers all the people that are engaged across the conflict. It's also very important that they can be implemented in a reasonable amount of time, because we need to show success to also the people around the other people that engage with our projects. And obviously, the solutions need to be clear win-win solutions. When we have the local people, the community that really are engaged in the work, it's possible then to appeal to the politicians. That may be the mayor or the municipal leaders, and they will start listening. What we're finding is that it's a rare occasion where we can go directly into the municipal leadership and say, this is what needs to be done. Another thing that is very important when we talk to the municipal leaders, and for that matter, any leader within the countries, is that it's the local people that bring these requests. It's not some people from outside. It's their own constituencies that are asking for these advancements. So when we can show that they have the constituencies back up, then the mayors and the municipal leaders are very willing to engage and stand in front and really move things. I apologize for the next picture. So this is an important picture because these are mayors across Palestine, Jordan, and Israel that get into the Jordan River, not because they like each other, but because they know that their local livelihood, the success of their local communities depend on them working together. And this is a way that they show that they can work together. It also, they would only get into the river in this way if they knew that they had the constituencies backing to really do something like that. So we learned a lot in the process. We learned about how we engage grassroots, how we really find these win-win solutions, even when it's very difficult to find solutions. and we learn how to engage different levels at the local level. We also learn to put t-shirts on our mayors. The part is usually initiated by creating some research, where we go out and we find out what is the problem, how can we fix it. And it's important that these solutions are not only related to one side of the conflict. They need to be looked at as from a regional perspective. And a lot of times we'll actually use several researchers from around the region, and they will work together to come up with this. Because it's important that it also looks to the local population that this is not the Israeli side or the Jordanian side or the Palestinian side, but it is something that people across the conflict can get together on. We use the research to reach out to the governments and show the governments what is going wrong and how can they fix it. We also reach out to media, and media plays a very important role here, because when people around that are not directly involved with these solutions really understand that these solutions what is happening right now, and it can be solved, then people start demanding from the national government also to make actions. We find that the synergy between these two approaches, the top-down and the bottom-up, really is important to deliver the necessary results. And as people understand they are interconnected, then also governments are willing to engage. And just as on the grassroots level, where we try to engage mayors from the different sides, we do that also on a national level, where we want where we invite people together from the three governments to really sort out the problems and engage with the solutions and invest in the solutions. Using water security as a peace-building mechanism really delivers an opportunity for us to address all of the sustainable development goals. The only thing that I think that we are not necessarily touching as maybe UN wanted is education, because we only educate on the environmental situation and how people can engage with it. It's not general education. But we do find that over time, school systems have adopted what we are teaching into their educational systems. We also try to address issues in a manner that can, I mean, it doesn't have to be a conflict. It could be situations where there is a conflict that might be developing, but by bringing people together over water, it might be possible for them to really start understanding the humanity on the other side and the willingness to engage with the other side. And water, we don't solve overnight. So people have to meet each other over an extended period of time. And it really helps create the bonds, or at least the understanding of people. And eventually, it develops the first step into peace building. We make sure that we reach out to women as well as men. And we make sure in our youth program that the girls get the necessary education to feel that they can stand at the same ground as the boys to be able to advocate for their case. The model advances good governance in a way that I really think is beneficial, because when people are involved in identifying the solutions, what they want is also to be sure that those solutions are implemented according to how it was defined. And therefore, they demand of the decision makers that things are following. They want to know what is happening and make sure that the projects are implemented and maintained in the way that was intended. Our experience is that we need local leaders. I've often been asked, why don't you just start a whole bunch of little EcoPeace subsidiaries all over the world? But that's not the solution. because we need local people that understand their local political and social environment. We can bring to them the programs and the experience that we have from these type of programs in the Middle East, and we can adapt it together. And together we can deliver projects that would work for them, programs that and strategies that is going to work in their favor. And on top of that, we also, we've been doing this for a long time, we may be able to bring connections to the table that can advance things also from an international perspective and move things ahead. We want local partners, and we want them strong local partners that are really committed to solving water problems across different groups of people that might have different religion, different political opinions, and so on. But we need to have them work on equal access, water security, and really building sustainable, resilient societies. So EcoPeace program for water security, we really want to address fragility, conflict, and violence. We want to go in and help de-escalate different conflict that otherwise might evolve. We also want to advance peace building in open conflict. And we can also use this program to address refugees and conflicts between refugees and the host countries. We want to use the programs to advance gender issues, and we really want to develop transparency and good governance when it comes to water. Since last fall, we started the EcoPeace program on water security based on the experience that we have in the Middle East. And I'm sitting in Washington, D.C. and working on this program. And we have engaged with different parties around the world. And I'll just repeat a little bit of what I said in the earlier, in the acceptance, was that we have right now organizations in Pakistan that is very willing to engage on the Kabul River across we have a partner in Pakistan that is willing to operate on the Kabul River into Afghanistan. And we have a project that is running in Bosnia-Herzegovina by a local NGO that is just this year expanding tremendously. And we have another partner in Iraq that is willing to work across the Kurdish and the Arab population to bridge between Sunni, Shia, Yazidi, and Christians in terms of developing water security that was destroyed, water system that was destroyed by the Iraqis when they, by ISIS when they left that territory. It is a long-term process. And in regards to this speech earlier, in terms of looking into what kind of impact having the prize might have on organizations, and I've talked to a few people about that, and I think that from our perspective, when you develop things like we do from a grassroots perspective, it takes 3 to 5 years to even start getting traction in a local environment. We can engage local NGOs, but for them to really be able to reach across the conflicts and start getting some win, it takes a long time. As I said before, the synergy between the two approaches is very important. I think the international community is very important. Local leadership is obviously a key, but seeing is believing. So what we a lot of times will do is we'll bring people to the Middle East and they will engage directly with the success stories that we have in the Middle East. They'll engage with the people who have been involved, the mayors, the coordinators, and so on, to really understand that if this can happen between Jordan, Palestine, and Israel, what is your excuse? Facilitation is needed, but we're ready to help. Sustainable, strong networks can be created through meetings and collaboration over environmental issues. I want to leave you with this last quote of Thomas Friedman. And really, to me, what is important is that water security is more than water security. Water security really helps develop the economic security, ecological security, and environmental social security. It can bring social sustainable development, and it can bring peace to the region. Thank you very much again for giving us the prize. We're extremely honored, and I hope that we'll be able to come back and show the success.